Welcome everybody, this is Steve Barrett, Editor-in-Chief of PR Week, and we are about to Perry Podcast again. So, I've got the echoing going on my phone, so I'm just going to turn that down so that we don't have dual. One of me is quite enough, so yeah. So we're going to Perry Podcast, we'll start recording in a minute. If you've got any questions you want to submit, or you want to make comments while we're broadcasting, Perry Podcasting, whatever you want to call it, do let us know, and we'll try and incorporate you in the show. And yeah, we've got Lindsay with us today, Lindsay Stein, our senior reporter, and Diana Bradley, who's our corporate reporter. She's making her debut on the Periscope, which she's done lots of podcasting, but she's never done the Periscope or the Perrycast. There she is. So, okay, we're going to start now. So, yeah, enjoy the Perry Podcasting. Hello and welcome to the PR Week, PR Week's regular weekly roundup of everything that matters in the worlds of PR and communications. My name's Steve Barrett. I'm the Editor-in-Chief of PR Week, going to guide you gently through the next 15-20 minutes as we review the week. And despite the fact that it's at the end of summer and coming up to Labor Day weekend, there's still loads of stuff going on. So we've got lots to talk about, and we have two fantastic guests this week. We've got Lindsay Stein, who's our senior reporter and our consumer specialist, and now blogger extraordinaire, Lindsay, isn't it? You're becoming a bit of a cult. You're basically, whenever Lindsay writes something, the servers almost keel over with the weight of traffic. Isn't that true?
I don't know about that. Might be an exaggeration.
So what was the blog this week? Got lots of traffic?
The Under Armour.
Under Armour, yeah, and the other week before that it was KFC. So what have our listeners or readers got to look forward to this week? What are you blogging about?
Generation Z.
Generation Z?
Because I spent the weekend with my boyfriend's little sister, who's 12, and I've known her since she was 6. And it's just amazing to see this generation. It's just
so this is the next one after the millennials?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting stuff, yeah. Disagree, podcasts are hotter than ever, and we agree.
Yeah.
But we actually like Perrycasts.
Actually, wait, we should ask our listeners and each other if we like Perrycast or Perry Podcast.
We should do, yeah. We should explain to those just listening on the podcast, we're also periscoping this live, so hence we're getting feedback during the event, and we can take questions and incorporate it in the show. And we've got Diana Bradley here. Diana is our corporate reporter, first time on the Perry Podcast, but a regular guest on the podcast. Diana, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not cold today.
It's quite cold in this room, isn't it?
Yes.
And yeah,
Normally I wear a coat during
Diana wears coat and scarf at all times of the
Yes.
year, even in the middle of summer. So yes, so we have to talk faster to keep your heat up. Okay, so what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about brands describing their jobs to 5-year-olds on Twitter. That sounds like the good stuff, and a nice little segue with Periscope, because obviously Periscope is part of Twitter, so we'll find out all about that. The NFL had a very interesting week. A film has come out called Concussion, which has raised all those issues again, and their head of communications, Paul Hicks, has actually left. He's gone back to the agency world, so we'll find out all about that from Diana. We'll get the update on Edelman. They've released their 2014 financials. It's always interesting to see what happens at the biggest PR firm in the world, so we'll find out how they did. And we'll talk through this whole sort of Burger King McDonald's stunt and see how that's played out. Burger King trying to sort of spark up a conversation. McDonald's reacting a little bit stiffly. Not much of a sense of humour there, was there? And but it's still playing out, so we'll see how that works out. So let's start with, as far as I can see, there's 7 people on the, 8 now on the Periscope, so that's exciting. That's 9 now. Wow, fantastic. Please do heart us if you're liking what you hear, and let's see if we can get those going. And remember, we can incorporate your comments into the show. But let's start with brands describing how 9 brands describe their jobs to 5-year-olds on Twitter. Lindsay, what's this all about?
So more than 9 did jump in on this, because I don't want brands to be like, dooming through us. But at the time, I went with the 9 that I thought were the best, and also just the ones that caught my eye the most. So Yesterday, the hashtag describe my job to a 5-year-old was trending throughout the day. I saw it in the morning, and Diane, you saw it in the morning too, right? I saw it and I was like, oh, this is cute, but I didn't think like any brands would get involved in it. And then around midday,
Who started it then? Do we know?
I actually looked that up, and that's one thing I wish I could figure out. A lot of times there's trending topics, and I don't know who started it, so that's something to dig into later.
Just
But I
comes
tried
from the
searching.
ether, the social media ether.
Yeah, I actually even went on National Day calendar to see if it was like a national day, like Virtual Work Day or something. I didn't know, but there was nothing like that. It was some weird day yesterday. But anyway, so by midday, there's more than 15,000 tweets with this topic, and I've gotten so many tweets in response to this, people asking me to describe my own job to a 5-year-old, which was...
Come on then, Lindsay. Describe your job to a 5-year-old.
I said something like, I write stories about how brands tell their stories. Or like brands and persons.
Yeah, that's good.
And pictures.
Yeah,
Painting word pictures. Where'd you get that one from,
I
Diane?
don't know.
Yeah? Cooking on gas.
So some of the best ones, well, like in my opinion, General Electric did a great job. They even made a Vine video with it. It said, I give machines a brain to help them learn and be smarter. There was a drawing in the Vine. It was really cute. And what else did I write down that I thought was really good? Nissan put I build monsters, which I thought was cute. A lot of people were tweeting that they like Sephora's, which said playing with colored crayons on our faces, and I like that, but there was no photo and no content. I feel like if they had like a photo of the makeup or something, I would like to know a little better. But yeah, that was basically it. I mean, there's a whole bunch of others, Logitech, Random House, and I thought it was a really cute way. And actually, even it was called Milan Stoneworks tweeted at me last night, and they described what they do, and they basically said like we make marble countertops or something like that.
So they were tweeting their jobs to a 25-year-old, not a 5-year-old.
Well, yeah, I don't think 5-year-olds have Twitter. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad thing to simplify your mission and try and explain it in a nice, pithy sentence, is it?
Yeah.
And that's really, in a way, what we do. We try and take complex information and distill it down into an easily digestible story. Painting word pictures. So yeah, I think that's not a bad thing a discipline to get into. So yeah, and it just shows how things take off on social and how creative you can be and how brands are getting involved, and it's all good fun. Yeah, nice one. Okay, let's talk about the NFL, Diana. Big week for them in lots of ways, and they've lost their comms chief. So talk us through this concussion film first.
Okay, I'll start with concussion. On Monday, Sony Pictures released the first trailer for Concussion, which it basically tells the true story of a doctor, Dr. Bennett Omalu, who discovered chronic brain trauma in football players, such as Mike Webster, who was the former Pittsburgh Steelers and Kansas City Chiefs player who died at age 50. As he tries to convince the NFL that the game is hazardous to the brain, he's met with hostility as the league attempts to silence him.
Did they get involved in the film? Do you know? Were they on the film, or did they refuse to cooperate with it?
I don't think the NFL had anything to do with the film, but to be fair to them, they've since come clean on the issue. In 2013, the league announced that it would pay $765 million to settle claims brought on by thousands of former players who contended that the NFL concealed the link between football and brain trauma. They've done various campaigns, such as one called Heads Up. They're trying to get younger players, aware of the risks and things like that. But this film, it comes out at Christmas. It'll star Will Smith, and a lot of crisis pros are saying that this will now bring, even though the NFL has already been kind of contending with this and communicating about this, this brings it into the limelight now. It brings it to the mainstream. People who aren't into football and who are Will Smith fans will now hear all about this.
Or kids who enjoy football.
Yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing issue, massive issue, isn't it? It's a real health problem. And when you're watching games now, you see the number of times the helmets just spring off
It's true.
during the game, and the impact, the speed, and the weight of the players, and the way
When I worked at one, which was like the sports outlet for sports media outlet for kids, and I covered this topic all the time. because there'd be, you know, little kids playing, they wouldn't play touch or whatever, they'd play tackle football. And there'd be some coaches who were like, oh, it's fine, they've been doing this forever, like, of course there's going to be damage. There were other people who were really against it. Always an interesting debate with parents, too. Some parents would be really against it, and some parents would let their kids do it, so.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, there's always going to be a risk. They're doing some rule changes and things like that, and they're making people aware, but there will always be a risk.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, all we can do is communicate about the risk. The PR pros I spoke with just said they basically have to emphasize everything they've been talking about. They have to talk about it more now. This film will likely make the NFL, they'll have to address some of the truths that are brought up in this film. They'll have to, you know, probably explain what they were concealing and why.
Yeah, it's a massive issue for the NFL. I mean,
Yeah.
we've talked about this before, Dan. Would you let your son play football?
No.
I mean,
I don't know how much control I'm going to have over it when he's older, but as of right, he's 2, my son's 2. So when he's old enough to play, probably I will steer him towards something that is a little safer for his brain. But we'll see.
Well, interestingly, my mom didn't want my brother to play football, but he did anyway. But then he was playing basketball, and he's 6'6", and he went to dunk when he was a senior in high school, and he got tipped under the net, like when he was hanging on to the rim, got a horrible concussion, like fell completely backward. And from that concussion, he was able to still play basketball, the doctor said, but never play football again.
Okay, so
the injury
basically
he got from basketball,
moral-
he couldn't play football.
no sports allowed.
well, that's the problem, isn't it? Because, you know, you can get injured doing anything, can't you? You know, we were at the baseball last week, weren't we? And there was that ball was travelling,
Oh
isn't
my
it?
God, it's one of my biggest fears.
And we saw the picture the other week who got the ball slammed back at him and it hit him in the head. Very dangerous and travelling really fast. So maybe you should try my sport. Very chess.
Yeah.
You know? It's a nice safe sport and develops the brain, gets kids into understanding time, awareness, strategic thinking. You know, and that's
Nobody ever picks up the pieces and like hits.
Well, there have been sort of famous stories of world champions who maybe were a bit drunk and throwing pieces across the room when they lost heavy lead pieces, you know, back in the 1900s.
So maybe
But,
some
yeah.
helmets.
It's a great sport for kids anyway. There was a massive tournament just finished yesterday in St. Louis, one of the strongest ever, and it was very popular online. Anyway, okay, and then Paul Hicks, very high profile head of communications, came to them from Ogilvy. He's left now and he's gone back to agency land working for Glover Park.
Yes, he's joining Glover Park Group as an MD in October. His responsibilities will include growing the sports communications and marketing businesses while working in the firm's strategic communications practice. But he will continue to advise the NFL in his new role. And the firm has worked with the NFL for the past 6 years, just as a side note.
Oh,
That's how
okay.
we got to know them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay, but an interesting time to leave, and obviously at a time when they need a lot of communication
Yeah.
support. But and it's just before the season's about to start, so interesting timing there. Okay, thank you, Diana. We'll talk a bit about Edelman's financials. I'll do this one, I think, because I did this story. Their financial year goes to the 30th of June, so they've just released their results for that. A bit later than normal, but they were up 8.5% in that financial year, 2014-2015. So their revenues were up to 833 million. Which is not a bad performance. If you compare that to the calendar year of 2014, they were up 8.2%. So that's pretty in line with that. They're not. If you look back 2 years, they were sort of increasing 10 to 11%. But you can't go on like that forever. And this is still above the market average, and it's a good bellwether for the industry. So they went up 8.5%. That's all the organic figure. They lost a little bit on currency fluctuations, but they gained a bit on acquisitions. So, and in the US, they did particularly well. Actually, it was up 9% in the US, which is up from 7.8% in the previous financial year. So that was good to see that the US was coming back, and that's up to more than $500 million now. 504.7 million, and that's up from 463.1 million. So yeah, interviewed Richard Edelman, and he was reasonably pleased with the results, and he was talking about how digital is now 20% of the business, although it's much more difficult to define what digital is, you know, so there's bound to be more than 20% in digital, but it will be sort of integrated into strategy and other things. But he's talking about things like community management, paid social, SEO, web development, analytics, that sort of thing. And their JV with United Talent Agency, which is the United Entertainment Group, is doing pretty well, and they've been doing some great content there. They've got a 60% stake in that. New York and Atlanta did particularly well, the offices there, and health did well, and health and pharma account for 18% of their business. So yeah, they claim not to have lost any of their top 20 clients, and that they've grown 15 of them. They won 2 big clients. They won, one was Cracker Barrel, and one was Florida Citrus. And as we know, they lost Humana and Crayola both to Golin, but apparently those were not in their top 20 clients. So when I asked Richard about what the work was that was demonstrating how they're growing in their communications marketing model, he said he pointed to their Cannes-winning work for Adobe, which you would expect, that Photoshop murder mystery thing, and work like some of the work for Unilever. They were doing a lot of work with Unilever on Dove and on the Real Beauty campaign 10th anniversary. So and an interesting thing called the Udder Truth. I don't know if you saw those videos for the dairy industry.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, it was about farmers talking about the truth about farming, and especially in the dairy industry. So that was, I think that was through their talent arm, which is producing content, and through their newsroom as well. So I did ask him about this. We've seen this trend towards agencies teaming up with media owners, like at Cannes with Vice. Well, that was Vice and Unilever, actually, that was a client. But for example, Snapchat teamed up with WPP, actually, Group SJR, and the Mail Online. And yet, sometimes they're just announcing those things to get a bit of noise at Cannes. And you know, we saw Helen Knowlton team up on a couple of those content things, especially through that Group SJR. But actually, Richard's not a fan of those. He believes that PR firms shouldn't partner with one media company, that they should work across all of them. So it didn't sound like that was something that they were going to be pushing on. But yeah, always interesting to see what Edelman does, the biggest agency in the world, a bellwether for the industry. Always interesting to listen to what Richard has to say. And I think, in general, pretty good year for them. And the last thing he highlighted were some interesting hires. You know, it's fair to say, I don't think they had their best year ever, and I think they'd admit that as well. You know, they've lost some clients, they've had some crises. They've still got Alan van der Molen, who's suspended over stuff to do with the Asia goings on over there. But and they've lost some people and some clients, but they've also won some business and new people that Richard sort of flagged up. Catherine Beiser from Hilton. So he's saying we're hiring CCOs, we're hiring CMOs, we're hiring people from the ad industry, like Carol Potter from BBDO in Asia. That's a high-profile one. And Lord Paul Miners in the UK, so he's a real city grandee financial expert who's come on board to be chairman of Edelman UK. So he's kind of pointing to those people as the future, as where they're going to grow this communications marketing model. So yeah, interesting stuff. Check out the story.
I think United Entertainment Group is also going to be what kind of differentiates them going forward. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think one of the big prompts for that was when they won in Cannes. They won the Gold Lion, didn't they, in last year, 2014. That was for the Chipotle thing. No, it wasn't, but it was working with a creative. Well, I can't remember what the unit was called, but it was working with a similar type of outfit in creative talent agency or group out on the West Coast. So I think that they thought, well, we need to get into this a bit more and do it.
But even like in the sports and entertainment section, we were talking about sports and entertainment.
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be huge, and then
Yeah.
Catalyst with IMG
Yeah.
now, and I feel like that's a great thing for Catalyst. So.
Yeah, and they're doing it through their creative newsroom, so they have a slightly different setup. Like Weber's got Media Co. Hill & Knowlton McDonald's got its Group SJR, Fleischmann Hiller's got its Content Works thing. So everyone has a different structure to do this work, but this is where a lot of the growth is, and you know, we write about that a lot. The video is now essential, a lot of this stuff, and we'll be talking a lot more about that over the next few months. Okay, so let's get into this Burger King and McDonald's conversation. Is that the right way to describe it? How did it all start, Lindsay, and then what's happened since then?
So at the end of last week, or middle of last week, Burger King asked McDonald's if they wanted to join forces ahead of International Day of Peace, which is September 21st, and create the McWhopper. And it seemed like it would be really cute, but McDonald's didn't answer in the way I think Burger King expected. So McDonald's basically said that they could do something bigger. I think it was like the phrase that, what's his name, the CEO, Easterbrook? Yes, Steve Easterbrook said. And they basically said he didn't want to associate their rivalry as a war, which might have been a little extreme because I think it was supposed to be a playful, fun thing. We did have a poll on our website and we had 479 votes, which is a pretty good amount of votes. And 45%, a little more than 45%, said they think that Burger King won this PR stunt. And interestingly, in second place, people said that Peace One Day won those, a little more than 24%, because a lot of people didn't know what Peace One Day was before this. So
Right. Well, that's good.
Yeah. And then McDonald's got like almost 23% of the votes saying that they won it because it was a good way to say, like, you know, our messaging is not about war. What did you guys think about it? Did you think Burger King or?
I thought McDonald's reply was okay, and I got the point. You know, they said I think he signed off with, by the way, next time just pick up the phone.
Right.
You don't have to do all this stuff in public and all this stunty stuff. If you want to talk about it, let's have a dialogue, because Burger King's obviously trying to make pay out of this and make it, you know, PR stunt. No, I don't even like that phrase.
Right.
That's not what PR's about, but a PR tactic. So I thought McDonald's, yeah, what could they do? You know, they're in a difficult situation. You don't want to be overly serious, but you don't want to be too frivolous. You don't want to just play into a competitor's hands. So it was interesting. It was interesting to see how it played out, wasn't
We
it?
even made the McWhopper website, which is still up, so you can check it out. It's actually a really, really nicely created website. I was really impressed with it. Who did you think, Diana?
Something I thought was interesting was that some people, I just saw on social media that some people weren't even really like reading what was going on. They were like, cool, a McWhopper. So I don't know like the legalities behind doing something like this, you know, if you're like including another brand's name in your idea. Like, I think it was a really cute idea.
Yeah, but I think in reality, what would they do if McDonald's sued them? That would be such a great publicity.
Yeah, it's true.
You know.
It's true.
But you make a good point there about how people just, they don't actually read stuff, do they? So they'll forward things and they'll comment on things when they're not even aware of the facts of it.
Yeah.
You know? And that's a big problem, I think.
Definitely.
Today, I thought this was over, and to be honest, I thought like this, you know, would have been done with by now. But one, people actually do love this story, whether they like know what's going on or they just like love the word McWhopper, I don't know. But Burger King is keeping it going, and they're today, or maybe it was yesterday, but they posted on their Tumblr and their Facebook an open letter saying that they're going to join forces with Denny's, Wayback Burgers, Crystal, and Giraffa's, which is a Brazilian restaurant chain. And they're still leaving it open to McDonald's, saying like, look, you can join us, take your time. And they said something which I thought it was kind of funny that we're at peace with that. You know, you want to take your time.
Yeah, someone here on Periscope is saying, how could you call it a Peace Day burger when you called all that violence between the buns? I'm guessing that's a vegetarian reference. But
interesting.
And the McDonald's thing was referring to war, you know, like saying this isn't a war, you know, a real war is seeing the effects of around the world. So yeah, that's an interesting angle. So is this story is it a 1 week story, or is it gonna?
No, it's already carried into this week,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be writing a blog about it, about this follow-up, about whatever thing Burger King is doing, and I don't think it's going away because McDonald's might have to respond again. I mean, they put another open letter out saying like this is what we're doing now, and more brands might jump in on it even and be like, hey, we'll join up with you. So
yeah, it raises a lot of issues, doesn't it? It's not someone, because in fact we had another piece last week which did very well about when your brand gets hijacked on social, like Target had a rogue customer service person, putting these funny comments and it's like, what do you do in those situations? There's a very serious point to that as well. This isn't like that, but it's another element of it, isn't it? It's not being hijacked, but your brand is being brought into a conversation against your will. I guess that's the whole thing about social media. You are in a conversation, and whether you like it or not. So you've got to, very basics, you've got to know what's being said, and you've got to be aware of what's going on. And then you have to decide whether you get involved, how you get involved, and how it plays out.
Well, a few months ago, I forgot the situation. One of the Fox News anchors said something he shouldn't have. It was caused a big ruckus online. People were tweeting about it. There was a topic that was trending about it. The next morning, there was a Twitter handle that went up, and it said like Fox Newsroom, and it looked so real. It was completely funny. It got like thousands of followers, like tens of thousands of followers overnight, and we even thought it might have been real, but I know a PR person at Fox, so I emailed them immediately, and I was like, all right, is this real? She was like, thank you so much for reaching out to me, because no, that is not anything to do with us. That is not our handle. We did not create that. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, no, you've got to be careful. Looks like Dan Kaplan's joined us on Periscope. So hi Dan, one of our former colleagues here at Haymarket. Good to see you're keeping busy, my friend, and hope things are well with you. All right, so look out for Lindsay's blog on that. It's going to be great and an ongoing story, I think. So yeah, that's all we've got time for. Just to say, flag up our conference. It's 2 weeks away. It's on September the 16th in New York City. I think it's safe to say we've actually got the best lineup of speakers and panels that we've ever had, and Lindsay's going to be chairing a couple of those debates, and Lindsay's also going to be presenting the 40 under 40 dinner in the evening. Diana's going to be reporting and keeping busy during the day, keeping everybody up to date with it. I'll be chairing the event. But yeah, really fantastic lineup. We've got Sally Sisman from Pfizer, we've got Stacey Tank from Home Depot, we've got Oda Coatby from Natelli, we've got what's his name? The former Giants, Tiki Barber, who's going to be great. Jeff Charney, I'm really looking forward to this. He's the CMO of Progressive.
I interviewed him years ago.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a fantastic presenter. And we've got Gary Vaynerchuk. So Gary Vaynerchuk and Jeff Charney are going to close the show. So no one's going to be going home bored. No. This is going to be a fantastic end to it. And what we might do, Periscopers, we might actually Periscope part of Gary's Q&A with me, actually. We'll see whether that'll work and whether Gary's up for it. I can't imagine he wouldn't be. But so do check that out. We've got a debate on diversity. We've got a panel of our 40 under 40 honorees talking about the future of communications. We've got a great panel on is the agency model broken, because there's a lot of talk about that at the moment. So it's going to be an absolutely fantastic day with social media workshops, practical how-tos. Lots of clients and agency folks already signed up for it, so do get your ticket if you haven't already done so. Go to prweek.com and follow the links, and hope to see you there on the day. But that's all we've got time for, so thank you, Lindsay, thank you, Diana, thank you, Byron, our web editor, who's been doing the Periscope duties, and we'll see you next time on the PR Week. There you go, your first Periscope, Diana. Exciting.